Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. Today, we're going to be talking about discarding, overcoming, moving past illusions, and beginning to look at what is real, or assumptions. Maybe I should say assumptions as opposed to illusions, although they can pretty much be the same thing. So before we get started, I'm going to say something once, and then and kind of do some little action with it. And then I'm going to repeat it 3 times, and I would like for you to say it with me. So we're going to say, everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. That's the phrase. We'll say it 3 times and do the little actions, okay? Everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. Everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. Everything is the way that it seems. Nothing is the way that it seems. Now, does that make any sense at all? Everything is the way that it seems according to our perception, according to our thoughts, our background, what we had experienced from birth to day one. And then as we become a little more familiar with it, we say, oh, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't this. I didn't that. So I'm going to bring up our PowerPoint, share the screen here, and we'll talk a little bit about discarding illusions and getting real. Kind of trying to find out what reality is. It is really realizing that real difficulties can be addressed. If there really is a problem, it can be considered. It can be, but imaginary ones, well, they're the ones that cause the problems. Because first of all, we're not even willing to look at it. So here's what we just said. Everything is the way it seems. Nothing is the way it seems. And it's just a little graphic that I composed to begin to look at the fact that if everything is the way we see, we may think it's good, positive, negative, but it is looking at what is. It is what it is. And my philosophy is it is what it is. So what? Now what? The thing of it is, as we look at what is, it can really make us wise. Now, whether it is what it is, whether it be positive, negative, neutral, it can make us wise. But as we begin to debate what is, it can drive you crazy. And kind of disregarding it is to have high expectations and can equal big disappointments. So this is looking at the first class. I've told you before that I worked for years with federal prisoners, and 9 classes they were mandated to attend. And it was looking at life skills. That's what it was, life skills. And so the first one that I looked at, although would be reconnecting with your family and overcoming unrealistic expectations and kind of getting more real. And so in reconnecting with your family or going back to work, what are your expectations? Do you expect it to be welcoming? Do you expect it to be banning? That, they'll, no thanks, they don't want anything to do with you? Or will it be kind of one of those, well, you're here, so get busy and stay out of my way? It depends a lot on what one's expectations are as to what we receive and what we encounter. So I strongly suggest that it is anything in life is both and rather than either or, because it's the having a job, being glad that you have a job, being able to have a little pocket change to support yourself and to get around and to do stuff. At the same time, there's the both and there's the positive and the negative. Because the thing of it is that everything in life is a blessing. And everything in life has beauty in it. And everything in life has a burden to it. You say, what? Well, here's a kind of a simple illustration. I took a picture of some irises that's here on the side of the house. And you know what? I just think they're such a blessing. I think they're so pretty and so beautiful. But you know what? There's a burden in them. Because before I took this picture, I had to clip away several that were already dead and dying and didn't look quite so pretty. And if you notice here, over here to the side, you can see that there's weeds up in there because I haven't taken the time to go out there and clean them out. And preparing the soil, matter of fact, if I had really worked on that last fall, I would have, it's way past time for that whole bed to be redone. So keeping things where it is having the blessing and having the beauty, there's also a burden involved because there's work to do in everything. But as we can accept it and receive it, then it just becomes a part of the blessing and the beauty. So I thought we would look a little bit at taking some personal inventory regarding expectations. Have you ever been disappointed in someone? In reconnecting? Or just life in general? And on reflection, was that disappointment rational or irrational? When you really get honest with yourself. Has anyone ever been disappointed in you? And were you ready to go back to that it is what it is and do all kinds of explaining that would just drive you crazy? Has anyone ever been disappointed in you? And with honesty, can you see any legitimacy to their disappointment? Did you purposely enact that disappointment? Was it to get back at? Was it try to help someone to know how you feel? And no one can ever know how you feel. We can never know how anyone else feels. Have you ever said, but I thought? But I thought, as a, but I thought my thoughts weren't right. And in thinking that thought, what kind of a hint does that give to you as to whether or not those thoughts were askew? Have you ever questioned why? Why about life? Why about your mate? Why about abilities? Why about things that happened? Why about disappointments? Why about blessings? Have you ever questioned why me? What about why not me? Why not me? Why was I caught? Why was I not believed? Well, why not me? What are those unchecked, or I suggest that those unchecked expectations sets us up for resentment. So, some thoughts to ponder from some experts in life. The Buddha said, we lose power when we think something is real, when in fact it is not. When we think it's real, but it's not, we lose power we lose energy by trying to bring it into existence when it's not there. When it is an illusion, when it is a falsehood, when it is a truth that we will not accept. We're the ones that lose power, even though we may be trying to power over someone else or convince them. Wayne Dyer said, those who are trying to bring you down are your greatest teachers because they are showing you your greatest area of needed growth. And I find that to be very, very true, even in disagreements and things that you don't like. that's where you can have your greatest lesson in life, is because it's where we can see where we need to grow the most. Greg Braden says, want. We're always looking at what we want. I want this, I want that, I want something else. And that want is an open-ended possibilities with no closure. So you get something and, oh, this is what I wanted, but there's always something else. And it is just that open-ended possibility that never finds closure. And so sometimes we're just, well, we need closure without it being confining. Change either what you want or what you are willing to do to get it. So those expectations of going to work, of being out into the community, of being free, of going back, reconnecting with your home, change either what you want or what you are willing to do to get it. It's Dr. Glasser said that. Carolyn Miss says there are two determinants about life. One determinant is the fact that I am not the center of the universe. Or a determinant is I am the center of the universe. And now it's up to me to figure out how I let everyone else know that it is me and not them that is the center of the universe. And then I strongly suggest that overcoming most anything in life is being thankful for what is lessens the frustration of what is not. So as we are thankful for those burdens, as we are thankful for those difficult steps, as we are thankful for those frustrations, it begins to lessen the frustration of what, the more we want what we have, the lesser we are frustrated by what we do not have. And our scales can be more imbalanced. So I look here and encourage you to kind of weigh and measure the levels of expectations and the levels of disappointment if it doesn't come. It's always, what word are you willing to use? How heavy is the word? If your expectations is to look forward to, oh, wow, yeah, I'm going to be able to walk around town on my own. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be able to make a few decisions that without being told everything to do. Yeah. So are you looking forward to that, going back and being with your family, having a meal at mom's table? Are you looking forward to that? Or are you assuming it to the point of even demanding it? And this is what I want. This is how the table's to be set. And then when that disappointment comes, do you allow it to be a letdown? Oh, I'm disappointed. Or is it so heavy a letdown that it becomes disillusioned? That, well, they don't care anything about me. That you're just absolutely devastated. And then also, I've looked there again about here under expectations. Is it looking for, or is it assuming? And so I want to talk a little bit about the power of assumption. That assumption, you've probably seen this before, that ASSU and me, to assume that it makes a little donkey out of me and you. You know, I begin to think that you're super stubborn because you're assuming, and you seem to think I'm super stubborn because you think I'm assuming. So as we begin to assume those things, we become that little donkey ourselves, as well as seeing the other person as being that little donkey. And as we just kind of get rid of those assumptions, get rid of those assumptions. I mean, what kind of a voice does a donkey have anyway? How melodious is that bray? Well, I may see it in as not being so melodious in you, but you know what? It is equally lack of melodious in myself. And some of those things that we kind of assume all too much is that I can fix you. That now there are only blue skies ahead. That assumption that my way is the way. That assumption that money is the answer. That assumption that live happily ever after, never any problems, never be tempted again. My problems are over with. Well, we're setting ourselves up to stay in illusions if we assume anything like that. So here's looking at the levels of expectations and the assumptions about us and about others. Of working one-on-one with a parole officer, of reconnecting with family, of becoming acclimated with the community, of getting jobs. So again, with your assumption, and your assumptions support your worldview, and sometimes we need to look at that worldview and see how cloistered we've been, as opposed to the possibilities that are in the world and in different cultures and in different people and beliefs and so forth. But anyway, it's elevating yourself and others. Now, elevating, I'm not talking this overinflated ego. I'm talking a good, healthy self-esteem that realizes that you are a person of infinite worth and value, that you are a human being, the highest order on planet Earth. And it's realizing that everybody has a job to do, whether it is your instructor, whether it is your parole officer, everybody has a job to do. The person that's hiring you, everybody has a job to do. And it is realizing, assuming it for yourself and assuming it by taking it on, not as a burden, but taking it on as I'm going to automatically see and believe that you have my best interest at heart. Because if I know my wisdom heart at all, I have your best interest for success and overcoming and fulfilling. I have your best interest at heart, even though you may think otherwise. And see things, I want to elevate the experiences that I go through, the people that I encounter, the ones that I work with. I want to elevate them to know that they can see things that I don't see, that they have experienced life in ways I haven't experienced, for positive and for negative. And to realize that right or wrong, good or bad, I'm going to hold myself in high esteem, and I'm going to hold others in high esteem, regardless of how they treat me. Or because with these expectations and these assumptions, we can either elevate ourselves and others, or we can plunge ourselves and others by saying, oh yeah, well, I'm less favored. You just think you're somebody special. You think you're better than me. Being prejudiced against, thinking that you are prejudiced against me. They won't hire me. That seeing them as they think they're greater than and that I'm less than. Or possibly even our own self as that lowered assumption of I'm better than you. I'm greater than you. You're less than me. It's the more we can see that we're on an even playing field. We're on an even playing field. And there are infinite possibilities in this world and in every single solitary opportunity we are given to overcome, to bloom, to blossom, to see the burden of it, but to also render and find the blessing of it and the beauty in it. So here's a little poem. It was written by the famous Anonymous. I was a child and it was adulthood I wanted. I wanted the freedom and the respect. I was 20, but it was 30 that I wanted. I wanted to be mature and sophisticated. I was middle-aged, but it was 20 that I wanted. I wanted the youth and the free spirit. I was retired, but it was middle age I wanted. The presence of mind without limitations. My life was over and I never got what I wanted. And so that can just, don't let this poem be a part of your life. Find contentment wherever you are. Find content, and it's within. The answers are all within. And they're more within as we listen to our wisdom heart as opposed to our ego mind. But find contentment wherever you are in whatever situation. And so here's a little poem that I've written. In spite of. We think spite of being terrible, and spite is not a good thing. But I'm suggesting the way you see something. Life, whatever the circumstances, in spite of all the difficulties, is good. Life is a blessing. Life has beauty. Parents, mates, people, in spite of all their flaws, and they do have them, they are honorable. They're respectable. They have esteem. Our mates, our children, in spite of all their differences, they're blessings. Our children, in spite of the frustrations, young and as they age, they are rewards. They are rewards. Work, whether it is doing your own laundry or keeping the house clean or actual heavy work, doing gardening or actual getting out, mind work, body work, work in spite of the hassle is a gift. It is a gift to have a job to do. It is a gift to be responsible for. And victory, in spite of all the defeats, is sweet. And rare, rare, rare is it the person that learns to ride a bike the first time they try. Although I had one person to vow and declare that the second they got on the bike, they took off and rode like an expert. I have my doubts. I find that everything that we become victorious in, there's been a lot of defeats. And we can find the sweetness in it, especially if we're willing to look for it. So here's my challenge to you from our little talk today. To breathe. And to recognize and appreciate the sacredness of breath. And to realize when you're holding it, or when you're panting, or when you are, but just the challenge of a soft and easy breath. Becoming aware of your expectations. I don't know that we cannot have expectations. And we probably have them in varying degrees, probably but thinking both the positive and the negative. But become aware of them and begin to kind of distort and weigh and measure and see if they're realistic or unrealistic. The challenge of honestly self-evaluating you in every tense situation and regardless of the outcome. Evaluate you, what you did do, didn't do, what you could have done, what you are willing to do the next time that would give a better end result. To rethink your self-sabotaging beliefs. What are they? I'm not enough. I'm better than you are. I'm less than you are. Rethink those self-sabotaging beliefs and bring them into an alignment. Each one of us is enough. We are enough. We have abilities. And may you find the peace of enough. Think you can do it? Well, I think you can. So go in peace.